Caller, what's your name?
Rahubat.
Where you calling from, and what's your question, please? Rahubat.
My name is Sean from the UK. I'm calling just to get a quick understanding about the whole in ancient Egypt you have the story of Osiris, Asaru, and him being killed by his brother Set,
Yes.
and obviously them Isis or Set finding his body parts and piecing them together to be able to then bring about Peru. So I was watching a video of the master teacher when he was going into this, and then
Yeah.
he mentioned a deity called Khanum, and he said that he was the creator who shaped man out of clay. So I just wanted to get the right understanding of that because that kind of reminds me of the whole story in Genesis, the creation story, when they're talking about creating Adam from the dust of the ground, or I think in the Quran it mentions clay.
Sure.
And then so I wanted to just to get a better understanding of was how this the two stories relate. Or obviously they did the story in Genesis, was that taken from
That's right.
the
That's
story of Khanum in ancient Egypt? And then if so, was that mythology in ancient Egypt, or was that the higher science that actually happened?
right. Yeah. So the first thing you got right is we say all modern monotheistic religions come from
Yeah,
ancient Egypt's story. Some of the stories, because what happened is that you have the science, and it wasn't taught to everyone. So this is why
yeah,
people came to Egypt to learn from the masters. One of those masters being the great Tahuti. And so, but the thing is, not everybody was given the actual information. It's just like in the biblical text when a story is being relayed and it's done in riddles or parables, as they would say. Not everyone's going to get the actual build or the details of what it's actually saying, because you had to be tested
yeah,
and worthy to get the actual secret information. So what's happened is that some of the stories in ancient Egypt were borrowed,
yeah.
and that's what became the information that is relayed from generation to generation from different cultures. So you have the Anunnaki stories from ancient Egypt, mystery schools that got
Hmm.
passed down and then got watered down and then became your Bibles and your Quran today. However, the other story, when you're talking about dealing with the science of it, when you go to the
Yeah,
creation stories, because every race and every culture has a creation story. But then when you go
yeah,
to the oldest story, which is the Egyptian story, you will see that they're talking about Atum and these beings, as you said. So when you say Atum, that's where they get the word atom from. So when you
hmm,
look at how they talk about the building blocks of life in the scientific world coming from the atom, when you go to
yeah,
ancient Egypt, it will be Atum. And then these are the deities that are spoken of in ancient Egypt. So that's what's happening. And in terms of the story of Osiris with Seth and Isis and Horus, again, this is what's coming to the religious story, where they've taken the story of Osiris being a god and Isis being the mother and Horus being the son. They've grafted that into Christianity and into Islam as the sun, S-O-N, instead of the S-U-N, and dealing with everything that you say, like horizon. That's Horus rising. There's so much
yeah,
information that all ties back to ancient Egypt. So there is the scientific aspects of information that wasn't told and relayed to everyone, apart from those that were worthy and were initiated into the Egyptian mystery schools. Then other people, like the Greeks, they came into Egypt and they were given the lesser mysteries or taught certain information, and they ran with that, and then it just became like Chinese whispers. And now we're back, because this time
mm,
period was prophesied or predicted to happen, when we will come back and start to basically teach the actual facts or the truth, which they didn't know because it was passed down from generation to generation, and one had to be raised amongst us who knows the secrets. And that's Parna Babianun to Malachi Ziyo, the reincarnation of the being known as Tahuti, who was the scribe in ancient Egypt that recorded all the mysteries and the things that they're trying to figure out the mathematics of how we built the pyramids, the DNA, and dealing with genetics and dealing with ether and all these things that they're just starting to look into now, but they still can't decipher because they had to wait for us to be the ones to rise up in the West to teach it.
There's a lot of the stuff coming out about ether. Like I was even watching a video on Terrence Howard, and he's talking about it, and everyone's kind of clowning him. He sounds quite interesting, and it sounds like he's got some stuff to say, but it's a bit like a lot of ether and things like that, and let's say what they call dark matter and what they can't necessarily measure.
Oh, it's in our scrolls. And they wait for the master teacher to put out information, and then they publish it. You go on Gaia, go on Discovery, you go on all these channels now. They're talking about things he was saying to us 40, 50 years ago. You see, so
crazy.
Now they're catching up, but there's still more to come. There's still a lot more they don't know, which is partly why they're trying to keep him away from the world, because he's got more. And he's talked about extraterrestrials and all these things that now people are starting to come into. So eventually the world is waking up, and this Wu-Sabat is getting to the world, and people want to know the actual facts. So
This is that moment in time. All false things shall perish.
100%.
This is that time we're living in.